I feel like this might be the most important video I've made all year, or maybe at all. And it's so simple because I'm going to talk about things that will drastically improve your life. And I'm being serious. By the way, if you're new to my channel, hi, I'm Dr. Andrew O'Connor. Welcome to the channel where I love to talk about interesting things. I love to talk about medicine, the supernatural, all the things. But this was too important to leave off of this channel. It's such a simple thing, and it has to do with light. Simple light. I always talk about light when I talk about seeing beings in the room, seeing shadow people, people at the end of life, seeing dead loved ones come to get them. Light, 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 right? Like our spirits, we're made of light. We're electric beings. We have our heart works by electricity. The light all around us affects everything. And why is this so important? Because how and what kind of light you surround yourself with makes all the difference. And I think instinctually you know this. One of the most important things, and why I keep holding this up, this is an LED light bulb. Yeah, how many of us have these now? Because it's pretty much all you see when you go in stores to get it now. But the problem with LED light bulbs is the type of green and yellow wavelength or light that they concentrate and emit. Okay, that's the problem. I mean, the good news is, yeah, they last a really long time. They can really save money over the long run. So I'm not saying I don't use these in the home, but you need to understand something. Our bodies need a particular kind of light to lower blood sugar, improve metabolic health, improve your vision, improve your energy, your sleep, your cognition. It all has to do with infrared light and other forms of UV light. So I think it's a really good idea to change out at least some of the light bulbs, at least that's what I'm doing, on my desk where I work or on my nightstand where I read a book at night or sleep or sometimes make videos, to incandescent lighting. So the light bulbs are similar, but incandescent light bulbs, they're the old school ones, right? Like your Edison light bulbs, the light bulbs we grew up with, where the light around the house, if you can remember in your family room, in your living room, that really warm yellow light, that cozy light that you just wanted to snuggle up next to with a good book, right? And then you put an LED light bulb in the house and everything is just that industrial white light that you see at gas stations and hospital hallways. And it's just not inviting. And the wavelength, it's not good for our bodies. Yes, is it great to maybe put on the driveway area, the front porch, even though I hate it on a front porch, but areas that you really want to light up bright, but you're not necessarily hanging out in. So in your family room, the nightstand, all that, consider incandescent light. The other thing to consider is sunlight. Why during COVID did I was making videos about this and I was telling my patients, it's so important to go sit out in the sun. Yeah, the sun, you can get a sunburn. Everybody's worried about, skin cancer, but there's very healthy light wavelengths. There's infrared and certain UV light that is actually creating vitamin D in our body and even penetrating through clothing, through skin, getting into your cells, improving mitochondrial, which is this little machinery inside your cell, increasing the efficiency of how that cell works. And when the mitochondria can work well, it can lower blood sugar. It can help cellular repair in the brain and in the eyes. They did a study with people with, you've probably heard of color blindness, but just say like color deficiencies. Like as we get older, it's harder to differentiate sometimes greens versus blues versus reds, things like that. And when you're in sunlight or receiving infrared light, studies showed that color vision and vision improved dramatically, like statistically improved it, which is really great. Vitamin D, right from the sunlight, supports immune health. And that's why during COVID, we were all saying it's so important to have adequate levels of vitamin D. And what happens when we're not getting healthy light? Like say you're inside an office all day. You're looking out a window, which by the way, might have protecting coating on it to block out infrared, which makes the building's heat go up and electric costs go up, like AC units are running harder. So buildings will put on the coating to protect it from that. But like you think you got sunlight because you were looking out the window. No, it's not the same thing. If you work in an office building all day, going outside for 15 minutes in the sunshine, like do a little walk around the office park or whatever, or if you're in a school all day long, well, kids are lucky they get to go have recess outside, but the people that work at the school, they don't necessarily get outside. Same thing with hospitals, but I worry about people with chronic disease, especially that are inpatient at a rehab or assisted living or hospital. They're not getting out in the sunshine, or they're not being sat in the sun. Because sometimes if it's like an old window without a coating, if they're at least sat in that light, they get benefits from that too. But they also get benefits from these, not this, but the incandescent light bulbs. So at the very minimum, if you could change out to incandescent light bulbs, yeah, they're the old-fashioned kind. They're usually on a dimmer switch. They get a lot hotter. They're not lasting as long. But I'm just saying, like, maybe be strategic where you put the LED light bulbs. It's really something to consider. But then let's talk about infrared light because, right, all the rage is those masks and the eye masks and the full body. It's almost like a self-tanning unit, but it's all infrared. I did a video on my channel. This was, a couple years ago. I have an infrared hood I use on patients because studies have showed too, the light has to be what I think, isn't it 800? I believe it's off the top of my head. I think it's 840 or 820 nanometers was the study. It has to be at least that strong. And it can penetrate through clothing. It can penetrate down into the cell. And even if a patient is getting the infrared light, say on their chest, thorax, or on their arms and not directly on the face, they were still having benefits in vision, improving macular degeneration, improving the tangles in our brain. They're called tau tangles. That's associated with Alzheimer's. And that's why infrared light is so important. And you have to be careful about the brand or the mask or the whatever you're buying because it has to be a certain strength and wavelength. But guess what? You can get it for free from the sun. It's really interesting too. There was a study about how green things like plants and trees and grass can reflect the infrared light. So to humans. So if you're living in an area that has more greenery around it, and they've done studies to show that these people are healthier. At first they thought it was economic and wealth. Like, oh, people that are wealthy live in areas that have more lush green yards and trees and plants and bushes and stuff like that. Well, it's not socioeconomic status, even though that can play a role, because they did a study where they put all these plants in a lower income neighborhood and their health improved. And that is why it is so important to go into nature. Be a tree hugger. Hang around the trees. Walk around the park where there's sunshine and trees. And if you can even wear shoes that can really touch the earth, because I'm always about protecting your feet. I don't want you to go out there and step on something sharp. But there is studies that show if you actually are walking on your bare skin on the earth, so whether it's, the ground, the grass, things like that, the beach, the sand at the beach, because it does change our positive and negative, because we have those electrons in our body. It literally gives us a more of a healthy charge. I'll just put it that way to keep it simple. Walking like that. Just be careful where you're walking though, right? Because you don't want to just walk barefoot in the park. You could step on a needle. I mean, these are the times we're living in, right? But, it makes you think oh, I'm going to plant more vegetation around the house. I'm going to have more plants around. And I'm going to open the drapes and let the sunlight in. Or maybe even go sit out in the sun for a little bit, 10 to 15 minutes if you're fair skinned like me. If you have more melanin, like you're from a Latin descent or an African descent, you have more melanin. You have to stay outside much longer, 20 to 30 minutes. But these things can dramatically improve your health. We saw it during COVID. I know when I was sick with COVID, the first thing I did, I just remember that day, I had such a headache and body aches. I think I sat in the sun for about an hour on a chair. I literally fell asleep and it literally felt so good. I think that's why I recovered quicker. And that is why I get concerned about patients that are not getting sunshine or incandescent light or infrared light at all. They're just being bombarded with that LED light in their hospital room. And they could improve with other forms of light. So if you have the freedom to change the light around your house or to get outside, it dramatically improves your health. Now, if you're really interested in the science of what is actually going on here, I'm going to put that on my other channel. It's called Vitalize Health Partners. I'll put a link in the description, and I'm going to go over the studies and the exact science if you're interested. I wanted to just keep it light and easy on this one. You could literally change your world today just doing those things. And think about it, You think you see the sun every day, but when is the last time you actually took a stroll where there's greenery, trees, the park, in the sunshine, and maybe even went barefoot in your yard or on a beach? Like, when is the last time? Think about it. It'll shock you, right? Okay, everyone. Thanks for being here, and I hope that was helpful.